Hello there, Qckslvrslash, and today I have a video courtesy of 1289, and this time they're driving their Tier 7 Premium American cruiser, the Indianapolis. Now personally, I don't own the Indy, but I really think I would enjoy driving her. I do like the Pensacola, I like the gun layout on this ship, and the bonus of radar at Tier 7 was very appealing. But since then, the Atlanta's gotten it, and I really didn't need a premium American cruiser at the time when this was available, and now I've got the Flint. So it's a ship that probably will never wind up in my harbor. But nonetheless, I think she looks beautiful. It's a shame what happened to the real Indy and the fact that, well, sharks ended up killing more of the crew than any actual combat did. Oddly enough, I think there's a Nicolas Cage movie or something coming out about the whole thing, which a little strange, but maybe it'll be a good movie. It's supposed to be a blockbuster, essentially, apparently. But 1289 is plain standard battle on fault line, and you can see top tier, pretty good layout. Couple number of tier 7s, couple tier 6s, and a few tier 5s. And, well, the other thing the Indy definitely has, as all Americans do, is some really solid AA performance. You can see 1289 has activated their defensive AA and is slowly picking apart these kind of squadrons that are flying past them. And they didn't get too close, so not into that kind of tighter bubble where you have the higher damage guns, but he still pared them down a little bit before they could get to that friendly battleship. So they're going to really the place I almost always find myself going to when I'm in a cruiser that I love to hunt destroyers and other cruisers in, and that's the Narrows over here. Because you rarely run into battleships on this side of the map. It does happen, but not as much, just because the kind of closed-in quarters battleships don't like, especially if there's destroyers in the match. And you can see lands a really good hit on the Emerald there with the first volley. Let's see if it can be a repeat, and oh boy, yes it is. Almost 18,000 damage, 4 citadels, and the kill. But I mean, that's a British destroyer. Why was it sailing side on like that? Like, okay, there's torpedoes in the water, but that's fairly obvious, and, well, 1289 made them look easy to dodge, and now there's a Cleveland sitting side on. 10,000 damage out of that hit with 2 citadels. My word, I wish I got this sometimes. I suppose I did in yesterday's video in the Minotaur, where I put 7 citadels into the side of a Zao who couldn't do a thing about me. But right now, the Indianapolis is really showing its strengths, and that's picking apart cruisers. The armor's reliable enough, the guns are punchy enough, that you're going to do some serious damage, and I thought the Cleveland was going to go there, but secondaries had to finish them off. Picking up a second kill and already 50,000 damage in. What I find funny or interesting is that other friendly cruiser kind of peeled off and stayed at distance as 1289 charged in, and the result was more damage for 1289. The Nuremberg is really good up close, has great rate of fire, very high speed flat trajectory shells. It could rip apart a Cleveland or Emerald. But left it for 1289, and next up is a DD. And you can see, still doesn't use the radar, but you know the second that destroyer tries to get sneaky here, or runs himself aground, he's going to pop the radar and know exactly where that destroyer is and abuse him. There's the radar, there's the torpedoes that missed by a mile, and 1289 is actually making an interesting move here. You're going to see him ground himself to try to keep all the guns on. I don't think that was his intention. I would have considered it, and oddly enough, rather than backing up, he's just continuing to plow ahead. Maybe the helmsman was a little drunk, didn't hear the full astern order, and just charged on ahead. And he is hot on the pursuit of a Sims that doesn't have torpedoes and is chasing after a Bayern. Now, the Sims torpedo reload is not that good. The torpedoes themselves aren't even that good. I know I've shared footage in my Sims where I think I hit 8 of 8 torpedoes and barely took half the health of a battleship with that, which is insane to think that you can't take like 60,000 health with 8 torpedoes. But that's kind of one of the Sims' weaknesses. And, well, he turns himself into a torpedo, rams the Bayern, and, well, kills himself. And that's just a poor play by the Sims. Yes, he was going to die, but try to delay it a little bit, bud. Don't just charge in and ram. You're only ever going to do your HP and damage, and against a battleship, well, he's got the hit points. It's not like he's been shot at a whole bunch, so you can guarantee he had the damage control. And kind of a waste of a ship. But the Sims put himself into a tough spot, then ran aground, made a poor play. And, well, 1289 kept the pressure on, and sometimes that's all you have to do. You don't have to be hitting a guy to kind of kill them. If you can just keep pressure on them, a lot of people cannot think critically when they are in a stressed environment, and they're going to make some stupid decisions that hopefully you can capitalize on. And you see 1289 utilizing the decent range on these guns, just shy of 17 kilometers, and some American HE to do what the other Tier 7 premiums do, and that is light fires. And expectantly, the Fuso's letting the single fire burn, especially with destroyers near them, so some free damage that's slowly going to build up. And, well, next up is this Gnessy. And the Gneisenau is a tricky ship to deal with because the guns can be very punchy when they connect, but I find them a little troll with their aim. You've got those torpedoes, the ship's armor's pretty good, and it is fast. So 1289 could find themselves in trouble very quickly. See, they went full astern, got behind this corner. That long knife edge bow is even far enough back that Gnessy can't do anything. And now his two allies are pushing around from the other side. The Gneisenau can't afford to pay attention over here, has to look straight ahead at the targets he can shoot at. And that allows 1289 to come around the corner. Only one shell gets by, still lights a fire, and, well, there's those torpedoes. Just gonna squeak by there. Oh my, that was close. And, well, now it's time to just put those guns to work. I personally would be using AP here, because the AP does some serious damage. And, yeah, there goes a Gneisenau. 1289's up to 82,000 damage, has lit a couple fires, and still has HE loaded. And once again, I really do like American AP. Side-on battleship like that, I'd probably be using it. Then again, 2,000 damage there, and a fire. That's definitely useful, especially if that fire is going to burn. You can see enemy ranger tries to attack him, loses 5 of the 6 bombers, and, well, now has the attention of 1289, and, well, puts another volley of HE out, and is now switching to AP, and assuming he's planning on shooting that carrier, I like the play. AP can absolutely wreck carriers, and I think too many people focus on lighting the fires and trying to put the flight deck out of commission, whereas a good volley of AP is going to ace a carrier. 7,000 damage out of that one. No citadels and only 2 penetrating hits. So hopefully you can correct their aim and get a citadel, but it's not looking good. The ranger was slowing up. Still going to clip the bow for another 3,300 damage. And 1289's in a big turn, and kind of pointing out, just like the Cleveland and the Pensacola, one of the weaknesses to these American cruisers, at least without the necessary upgrades, or maybe Steven Seagal at the helm, is their turrets can't quite keep up That doesn't matter. Got 2 turrets onto target, 2 citadels. There goes the aircraft carrier, up to 131,000 damage. And now we're going to see what this AP can do to the Fuso. So shells were off. They're looking pretty good. Only 460 there. None of them penetrated. So maybe in 1289's experience, they know the ship, they know the shell characteristics, and they just know that HE's the better choice. Like I said, I don't have this ship, but I'd be a little curious to drive it, and maybe at some point I'll snag it for myself, the completionist that I am. But not going to matter because the Fuso is dead, and well, that just leaves a Bayern, one enemy cruiser, and an enemy destroyer, and I really do not suspect they're going to offer too much trouble. You can see the Belfast's HE getting lobbed in. I'm guessing they're sitting in a smoke screen. Excuse me. And the Bayern's stuck alone. And this is one of those things, it's 3-on-3. You have to be together as a team. That's really why I think 1289's team's going to win here. Is both him and the friendly Bayern are focusing down the enemy Bayern. They've got all their guns pointed at one ship, and that just is how you have to do it. Whereas the enemy team, their Bayern's here, their Belfast is finally coming out from behind the island, able to support, and their destroyer as well, somewhere. Possibly going down to the cap, figuring, well, cap it out, or just trying to get into a place to sneak in some shells. Not shells, torpedoes. You can see 1289's friendly Bayern is charging in, nose more or less into that enemy Bayern. They're kind of at the same angle to each other, but considering the hit point pools that both those ships went into, they are definitely winning the exchange here. And, you know, Eat Me had almost full health, whereas 1289's friendly Bayern was on about half health, so they really wrecked that Bayern, and that's why they've got the lead now. So now it's down to an enemy Belfast and enemy destroyer. The carrier has been doing a solid job this game, and really I don't think we'll have too many problems. They've stayed in the spawn point, which is one of my favorite spawn points, is when you get right behind that island, because really there's no reason to move. If your team pushes out evenly, no one's going to sneak in, get behind you, and really threaten you too much. So it's kind of coming down to this Belfast versus an Indianapolis. Both are Tier 7 cruisers, both have different strengths, though they do both have radar. The Belfast does have that smoke, and personally I'd be considering using it here myself if I were driving that Belfast, because sure, the Indy's got radar, but the radar is going to wear out, it's got limited range. You can keep your hit points, but I think the Belfast figures, I've got the health, I'm going to do this. And, well, it's looking like that Belfast may be right. Enemy destroyers in the cap, the Hiryu's still just sitting behind that island, and I kind of get what's going on. The Hiryu's focusing in on this Belfast, but all these strike planes should be hunting down that destroyer. It's the biggest threat. It's the thing in your cap, capturing. It's close to you as a carrier. You have to get in there and defend your cap. Sure, they've, you know, launched at that enemy Belfast, and, you know, some of the torpedoes will hit, but what's it matter getting one more kill if the enemy team's going to cap out? I can only assume from that torpedo the Belfast does have a flood, so if you get the fire, maybe it evens the odds between 1289 and this Belfast, but things aren't looking good, and I guess there was no flood because there's the fire and it instantly gets put out. So back to 1289, you can see him looking over his shoulder at the cap, hoping something gets spotted. These fighters should be over the cap, trying to find that DD, and maybe he's in smoke. Maybe that's why the carrier's just given up on him. But you can't give up your cap. The carrier would even be more useful just getting into the cap, because you can't take a capture point that has, whoever owns the cap in it. So if he gets in there, he delays the capture. And that's what it's all about. Now you can see 1289 was setting up for an ambush there, gets detected by radar, and has to just punch the engines full ahead. Now, whether they've actually gone full ahead, I don't know, because as you can see, for some reason, my W and S key were controlling it. And well, there's the game. The destroyer is spotted, wasn't in smoke, and sadly, despite working incredibly hard, 160,000 damage, 4 kills, their team manages to toss it, and they had a solid lead at one point. But it just wasn't enough. And really, when you look at the 3 ships that were kind of alive to the end, other than the Bayern, but that carrier had 3 kills, this Minakaze has 3 kills, that Belfast has 3 kills. Between them, that's them carrying their team. And, well, 1289 got 4 and tried to carry his own, but it just wasn't enough this time. But the carrier hasn't given up. Still ever trying to delay the inevitable, I think, at this point. They do have the point lead, but you have to wonder, can this Hiryu take down the Belfast before the game ends? And thankfully, well, 1289 was shooting at that Bayern. He was in the enemy cap, which means they kind of delayed the enemy building some points, and that's the only reason it's even right here. So, anybody place some bets? Who do you think it's going to be? Is the Hiryu going to come through, or the enemy Belfast with 3 kills going to win it out in the next minute 37? I know where I'd hedge my bets, and, well, I think everyone can guess. The Belfast was last spotted up here in his cab. It's a bit of a long drive to get all the way down there. He's definitely not going to get in range to kill the carrier in the next minute 20 seconds, and, well, let's just jump to the post-battle. Well, I think it was pretty obvious. For a bit there, I wasn't sure 1289 was going to win the game, and he put in a lot of work, but ended up dying before it ended out. Fortunately, his team did not throw his work away, and he managed to walk away with 409,000 credits, 3,700 experience, a slew of medals, 160,000 damage, the kills, and really carried a team. And it's shown by the standings, you know, almost double what anyone else managed to put up on the board. And 1289 really showed off how good the Indianapolis can be in the right hands. It's a ship I may get at one point if it comes on sale this Christmas, perhaps. But for the time being, I'm pretty happy with the Harper I've got, and I'm saving up for some bigger things. The Missouri was finally announced today. It's going to be 750,000 free XP, which definitely hurts a little, but it's here forever, so you can slowly work your way towards it. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this game as much as I did. Consider giving it a thumbs up or subscribing to the channel. Both help keep me motivated. If you want to submit a video of your own, which a bunch of you are doing now and I'm loving it, Qckslvrslash@gmail.com, and it'll probably end up on this channel at one point or another. I tend to commentate them all, watch them right when I get them, and then I just keep them so I have backups for uploads and just a steady flow of videos rather than like some weeks where I get 7 and then a week where I've got 1 or 2. I'm just trying to do, 5 a week consistently. Anyways, as always, I'm Qckslvrslash, and I'll have another one for you guys later.